Hi everyone, my name's Donkey, and today we're back on the RTS series. So today we're going to be kind of working on what we tried to finish off in the last video and it didn't exactly work out great. And I'm actually going to be going through why it won't really work and what we're going to do instead. And there was a few little things that kind of led to me thinking that maybe this won't work. I'm going to still try, because if I can get it to work, it will be a lot more efficient. But I've tried lots of different ways and it does not seem to be working whatsoever. And it's mainly due to the system that we created in the first place. So it's maybe something to think of if you're kind of starting something, is to maybe think about this with Enums in mind, because they are quicker. So I started off, I think I made something that looked a little bit like this in the last one, but I had like sprites here. And the problem with this is that if you, and this is the main problem that I consistently run into, is if you have some sort of variable, so say val equals sprite tile land, say, you can't then say, like, if we had show debug message, that should be absolutely fine, right? If we then try and call from the enum, so like sprite2id, I'll talk through what I did with these in a minute, and I try and whack on sprite land, and I run that, that'll be fine, it'll show up at the bottom. Maybe it won't, maybe that's actually linking into the next one. If I try and put land here, that will call from this one, so we need to change this, name to sprite. It's just not running at all now. It's not even exiting. That's really weird, actually. There's some definite problems, let's say. Maybe because we keep calling these same things. Let's try just whacking that. I know I've done some different things. That's very weird. But basically, yeah, I've had repeating problems with the enum things. The big things that I found were you can't do things like this. It just doesn't happen. For some reason as well, it just seems to exit with non-zero status. It's a bit weird. If I run this like this, I think it works. Maybe not. That's weird. I wonder why. Maybe it's this one. I'll get rid of this. That's not how you do that. That's a completely wrong thing. So that. There we go. Yeah, run that now. That should work. Okay. So there's something wrong with that one. But anyway, I'll go back to what I was trying to say. So if I tried show debug message name to charge dot land, that works totally fine. It should show as 0. There, 0. That's great. Okay, that's working. Just as an enum should. If, however, I put var val equals land, and then here I put var, what it tries to do is it tries to call var from here, which obviously doesn't exist, instead of using the variable. If that makes sense. And you can see that on the color coding as well, and it crashes. So that's quite a key problem with this system, and the reason why this won't actually work with ours is because if we think back to how we actually create the grid, I know this looks kind of complicated now, but at its base we put a sprite into each slot in our grid, and then that gets drawn and that gets controlled through sprites. Now we could use some sort of global constants or something, but it starts to get tricky because as we are set each thing to be set in our grid, then here, for example, where we say var tile equals the slot in our grid, so that will be our certain sprite. Here we compare it to global tile db. Now this would be absolutely fine if we could do this, because we could simply find out the sprite name and work from there. But because we can't, it causes a lot of problems. Mainly because we use some similar things all the way through, and because it's in our grid and not a hard-coded variable, we can't just whack on the end of name to charges, we can't just put sprite tile land on the end, for example, because we don't know what that's going to be. It did just give me a little idea though. We could give this a go. I did not try this before, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think it will, but we'll see. Tile grid. I don't think we can do this many dots. Don't think that's allowed, but we'll give it a go. Yeah, we'll see if this works. Because if it does, there is potential that it works, but no, I don't think so. Maybe. If we change this to sprite tile land. But what I was trying to get at anyway is that this whole system is great and it is a lot quicker, and it is more efficient. But yeah, I don't think this will really ever work, to be honest. Maybe we get rid of this. But yeah, we're just going to leave this, I think. But it just simply won't work in our system because of the way we've laid it out. And in fact, with a lot of randomly generated systems, it will be quite hard to do. Especially when the world is changing so much. It's quite hard to do unless there is some sort of way of checking things. And that's where the grid really comes a lot better than the enum. Because in an enum, you don't know what these variables are without having one of these. So if you have one of these, you know that. Have one of these, you know that. The beauty of this is you can just simply search through the whole tile database until you hit this. And it is a lot longer, but you can't do that with this. You can't just search through name to sprite until you find tile land and then match that up to the other one. It doesn't work backwards, it only works one way. And that's really where RTS grid will come in a lot more handy. So I think for the moment we'll kind of just leave it as RTS grid like that. I think that will work a lot better, actually, than all this faffing around. That said, it is better to use enums, and I'm just going to quickly explain, I think, how enums are quite useful, and I think we will probably use them in quite a few other things. The beauty, I've forgotten to put a name there, but the beauty of enums is they're a lot quicker. So they're a lot quicker than global variables. I think within a whole kind of, I think it's about 10 times quicker than global variables, even though they are technically still global variables. You can use them from anywhere, and that's simply because you don't have any option to change them once they've been made. So they're quite useful for making kind of constants at the start. I think we had a sort of similar system in GameMaker 1.6 where we had global constants at the start of down here somewhere. I can't remember what they were called in the configuration things. I'm not exactly sure how you do it on this. I tried to do this, it all got a bit complicated. Yeah, I don't have a clue. Maybe here. No, I don't know. But yeah, you could definitely do that before, and that's where kind of enums have taken over in GameMaker 2. Mainly because they do happen in and occur in other languages, so it just kind of makes sense to do that. The usefulness of them is if you've got a hard-coded variable and it's going to another hard-coded variable. A bit like a dictionary. In other languages you do call them a dictionary, where you're kind of searching through, and once you find the word, you're looking for the definition. You don't look for the definition and then find the word. It's always that way around. And in a dictionary, it's quite quick because they're all in order. So that's kind of the gist of things. And we might use them for a few things. Not entirely sure what yet. There's potential that we switch the whole system around though. And we have the whole system based on kind of numbers or something, which might work a little bit better, in which case we can use enums. The only reason the enums in this case do not work is because we've got sprites instead of say like a string. But even then, it might not work because of the whole variable thing. And that's kind of where GameMaker is kind of lacking in the enums part. I think enums are quite new in GameMaker, so maybe that's something that we just kind of leave for the time being and just stick to RTS grids because they're basically the same. But anyway, I think that's kind of going to be it on the whole enums thing. We'll probably just work on... I think it's all actually sorted with the script things. So we might just leave it as that for the moment. I don't think there's anything extra we need to add to that. We'll probably just move on to something completely new in the next video because we spent a long time on this. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, or what you guys want to do, and I'll talk to you in the next one.